Welcome to Renesa Academy. Today we are going to talk about non-finite verbs. As we have discussed in earlier video that non-finite verbs are those verbs which do not change their forms according to number, according to gender, according to person of the subject and according to tense, right? So non-finite verbs are of three types: infinitives, gerunds, and participles. Right. So let's talk about infinitives. Infinitives are V1 form of the verbs. Right. Infinitives are first form of the verb, or we can say root form of the verb. So over here, infinitives are subdivided into two parts: bare infinitives and two infinitives. Bare infinitives are those verbs which do not tax do not take two with them, right? If you see this example, I made her laugh, right? So over here, laugh is a verb, right? And this verb, if I change the subject over here uh, from I to she, for example, she made her laugh, right? So over here there is no change in the form of the verb laugh, right? If I change the tense, right, I make her laugh, right? So over here again laugh doesn't change. But if you see there's change in the form of the verb make or made, right? So this verb is a finite verb and laugh over here is a non-finite verb, and which is in the form of the root form of the verb. Right? So as laugh is in the root form of the verb, or we can say first form of the verb, and kind of verbs are called as bare infinitives. Right? Bare infinitives are the first form of the verbs which do not stay to with them, right? And they do not change according to gender, person, subject of the sentence, and tense of the sentence, right? So there is no change in the form of the verb laugh, right? So we can say that laugh is bare infinitive over here. And do remember that if you found first form of verb after the object in the sentence, if you see this sentence, I made her laugh, over here, I is the subject, made verb, and her is object, right? So if V1 form of the verb comes after, immediately after the object, right? So then we can say that these verbs are bare infinitives. So another type of infinitive is to infinitive. The form of to infinitive is to plus v, right? So if you look at this example, I like to play, right? So to play over here is to infinitive, right? So this is the difference between bare infinitives and to infinitives. Bare infinitives are the first form of the verb which do not take to with them, and to infinitives are the first form of the verb which takes to with them, right? First form of the verb followed by, right, preceded, I will say preceded by to, right? I like to play, right? So to play is infinitive and laugh is bare infinitive. Another type of non-finite verbs is gerunds, right? Actually, gerunds are V4 form of the verbs. Gerunds are V4 form of the verb. If you see this sentence, walking is my hobby, right? So walking is V4 form of the verb. And in this sentence, walking is used as a subject, and as you know, subject is most of the time noun in the sentence, right? So walking is acting as a noun over here, right? Walking is my hobby, right? So walking is acting as a noun. If the V4 form of the verb is acting as a noun, right, in the sentence, then that V4 form of the verb is known as gerund or gerunds, right? So walking is my hobby. Word here, walking is acting as a noun. Sometimes these V4 form of the verbs come at the place of object, and then also they are known as gerunds, right? So gerunds are V4 form of the verbs which are used as a noun in the sentence, right? Then the third type of non-finite verbs is participles, right? So participles are of three types. Participles are of three types. Present participle, again present participle is V4 form of the verb. Then past participle, V3 form of the verb. Perfect participle, right, which are formed by having, right? Perfect participle, right? Word here, having is a perfect participle, present participle is rolling, right? Where V4, past participle broken, V3 form of the verb. So let's talk about these three participles. Present participles. If you look at this example, lines, right? So over here, rolling is describing lines. Rolling is describing noun. If rolling is describing noun, then rolling is an adjective over here, right? So rolling acting as adjective, right? So whenever we find V4 form of the verb acting as an adjective in the sentence, then that V4 form of the verb is known as present participle, right? So another type of participles is past participle. Again over here, broken mirrors, right? Broken is describing mirrors. Sorry, broken is describing mirrors. Broken mirrors. So broken describing mirrors. Mirrors are noun, right? So mirrors is noun. So broken is over here acting as an adjective. If the V3 form of the verb acting as an adjective in the sentence, then that form of the verb is known as past participle. V3 form of the verb, right? Now let's coming to the third type of participles is perfect participle. Perfect participle denotes the completion of action, right? Denotes the completion of action which has effect on the other action in the sentence, right? If you look at this example, having dinner, we went to bed, right? So having dinner, right? So taking dinner, that action has been happened, right? That action has been completed over here. So having dinner, present participles are formed the help of having, right? So over here, having is perfect participle. So present participle, perfect participle, right? So perfect participle indicates the completion of action. So having dinner, we went to bed. Having is a perfect participle. So these are the various types of non-finite verbs. As we have discussed, non-finite verbs are of three types, right? The first one is infinitives. Infinitives are the V1 form of the verb, but infinitives are divided into two types. The first one is bare infinitive. Bare infinitive are those verbs which do not take to with them, right? And these bare infinitive do not change as they are the type of non-finite verbs. They do not change their form according to the subject and according to the tense, right? So bare infinitive generally comes after the object as a one form of the verb. Then the another type of infinitives is two infinitives. In two infinitives, V1 form of the verb is preceded by to, right? So over here, to play, to see, to watch, to look, these are uh, two infinitives. Then we have discussed that second type of non verb is gerund, right? So gerunds are those verbs which are in the V4 form, right? Which are in the present participle form, right? Or I will say V4 form of the verb, right? So those verbs which are in the V4 form of verbs and which acts as a noun in the sentence, right? Those nouns, those V4 form of the verbs are called as gerunds, right? So if V4 form of the verb is acting as a noun in the sentence, then that V4 form of the verb is known as gerund, right? Then we talked about third type of non-finite verbs, that is participles. Participles are of three types. The first one is present participle. Present participle is again V4 form of the verb, but present participle acts as an adjective in the sentence. So what here? Rolling lines right? So roaring acting as an adjective, right? If V form of the verb acting as an adjective in the sentence, then that V form of the verb is known as present participle, right? Then the second type of participles is past participle. So here, if the V3 form of the verb is acting as an adjective in the sentence, so that V3 form of the verb is known as past participle. And the third type of participle is perfect participles. Perfect participles indicate the completion of action, right? So perfect participles are formed with the help of word having, right? Having dinner, completing, right? We went to bed, right? So over here, having indicates the completion of action, right? So this was all about non-finite verb. So as we have talked in earlier video about what is non-finite verb and finite verb, in this video we talked about different types of non-finite verb. So if you like our video, you should share, subscribe and like our channel, right? Thank you.